We always hear that the United States is the strongest military on earth. And then we got all these Arab countries trying to scare the United States, saying that we better not, and giving us threats and warnings. Finally, we have a president that is not scared to step it up. And it's just bringing it to them, telling them to watch their mouth. And now he is changing the whole regime of Iran. That's insane. Let's take a look at what's going on over there in Iran, because Trump is giving it to them. He is going full force against the bad guys. Those are words that we're not allowed to say or to use. You know, the enemy, the bad guys. We got to be nice to them, to the people who are actually committing crimes, but not Trump. It's insane. Let's take a look at some of the reporting of what's going on over there, because we really have weapons that are on another level. Here we are destroying Iran with no boots on the ground. Only planes and battleships sending in bombs and blowing things up. That's on another level. I can't wait till they make a movie out of this. It's going to be crazy. But let's take a look. My name is Noel. Here are Verbal on Life. Better than my PPMS. But I can still talk and put my opinion out there. So let's listen. Now let's take a look at this. Jesse Waters Primetime talking about it. Amazing. We are the best, and we're showing it.
Operation Epic Fury is penetrating deep inside of Iran, as tonight we're being told it'll be the biggest bombing campaign of the war. U.S. forces are exterminating what's left of the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. The crippling air campaigns left them bruised, battered, and confused because U.S. Growlers are in the air, jamming Iranian electronics. So the regime is flying blind. Their drones are falling out of the sky like dead pheasants. The Growlers are scrambling their signals, or they're being shattered by U.S. precision rockets. American warships haven't even used our lasers. We're saving them for the next phase. That's on top of the Air Force sinking Tehran's drone carrier last night in the Gulf.
That's crazy. How strong is the United States? We're destroying all their carriers. You know how much money they're blowing? By the end of the day, they're not going to have any weapons, any bullets, any ships or planes.
Their Navy has nearly nothing left in the water. U.S. Central Command confirming that we've sunk over 43 Iranian vessels. Here's one of their crown jewels. Watch.
This commissioning sends a clear message of military self-sufficiency.
But probably the most important capability of Shahid Bagheri is that it can remain at sea for an extended period of up to a year, a feature that makes it a game changer for the Iranian armed forces.
Now it's at the bottom of the Gulf. We've hit more than 3,000 targets, and the operation isn't even a week old. And you know what else just got hit? The Ayatollah's bunker. The IDF struck it this morning with 50 fighter jets. It's also home to Iran's primary command and control center. Well, it was. Most of the regime couldn't be there to see it. We killed 50 of their leaders in the first 50 seconds of the war.
That's crazy. Now, whenever Trump gives them a warning, the whole world listens. And think about your actions, because what's about to go down, it's on another level. And we needed to do this, prove it to everybody that we are that mean.
Just incredible stuff. And now Iran's underground missile cities are being turned into ash. 13 of them have been blown to rubble. Former CENTCOM commander and CIA director, General Petraeus, says we are in total control.
We want to bring in the big ones, the B-52s, the B-1 bombers, and they are flying now almost at will. I would argue that we have actually achieved air supremacy, not just air superiority.
As Secretary of War Pete Hegseth said, we're just getting started.
Yeah.
The USS Ford, the world's largest aircraft carrier, just arrived. It was last seen sailing through the Suez Canal and should be in the theater momentarily. Right behind it, the USS Bainbridge, a guided missile destroyer with state-of-the-art Tomahawk capabilities, and the USS George H.W. Bush should be next to arrive. That put 3 carriers in the neighborhood. And just for a little extra oomph, Ukraine's got our back. They've pioneered the most advanced anti-drone tech, dealing with the swarms of Iranian drones since Putin invaded. Zelensky says he wants to help. Maybe offer us these wild Hornets. The Ukrainians built these beautiful, low-cost, fast, agile kamikaze drones. These Iranian drones can be a real nuisance. They're like mosquitoes. But we've been reverse engineering them and shooting them right back at them. It's saving you money.
You remember you used to always hear, we're shooting down a $50,000 drone with a $2 million missile. These days, we're spending a lot of time shooting down $100,000 drones with $10,000 weapons from ours. So that's one aspect of it. Lucas, indispensable. As many of you know, and if you don't know, this was an original Iranian drone design. We captured it, pulled the guts out, sent it back to America, put a little Made America on it, brought it back here, and we're shooting them at the Iranians.
You know who's getting nervous? The Russians. They've reportedly been helping Iran with intel, giving them locations of our warships and aircraft. Trump's not worried.
None of that helps. That's how powerful our weapons are. It's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to put them in action. And all of this that Trump is doing with no boots on the ground. There's not a single soldier in Iran. Everything is ships and airstrikes. That's crazy. Think about that. They want Trump to put boots on the ground, take it to another level, but he won't. Smart man.
It sounds like the Russians are helping Iran target and attack Americans now.
That's an easy problem compared to what we're doing here.
The Iranian strategy comes down to this: hunker down and wait for America to lose its will and hit the Arabs and hit the oil to drive up the costs to the alliance. They're losing the war, so they're waging an economic war as a last resort. Their military is nearly neutered. They went from 100 missiles firing a day yesterday. They launched 8. Their fighter jets are Vietnam era. We're fighting a next generation war with a country still stuck in the 60s. Trump's in no rush. He tells Time magazine this: I have no time limits on anything. I want to get it done. The president wants us to keep going.
Gangster.
In Iran, we're doing very well. Somebody said, how would you score it from 0 to 10? I said, I'd give it a 12 to a 15. Their army is gone. They're just about, look, their navy is gone. Their communications are gone. Their leaders are gone. 2 sets of their leaders are gone. They're down to their 3rd set. Their air force is wiped out entirely. Other than that, they're doing very well.
That's insane, man. I am telling you, we needed to show the world how strong American military really is. Spending trillions of taxpayer money on it, you better show something. You know, the other politicians were too scared of other countries. Finally.
As for a ground invasion, POTUS says it's a waste of time. He wants the same thing as Truman.
What the president means is that when he, as commander-in-chief of the U.S. Armed Forces, determines that Iran no longer poses a threat to the United States of America and the goals of Operation Epic Fury has been fully realized, then Iran will essentially be in a place of unconditional surrender, whether they say it themselves or not.
Unconditional surrender. We'll know it when we see it. If the mission's a success, the world will owe the president a debt of gratitude, because 1/3 of the world's population was within Iranian missile range, from Paris to Calcutta. And with their uranium stockpiles, their ambition was Armageddon. Trump's strategy: decapitate, then delegate.
As for the future of Iran, as the president has pointed to, of course, it's in the best interests of the United States of America for Iran to no longer be led by a radical terrorist regime that chants death to America and is lying to the United States and the world about their secret ambitions to possess a nuclear bomb. President Trump does not want to see that.
Another thing on the back.
You know, it's crazy that we, or the United States, this time around, Trump gets to pick who's running another country. Like, they better play nice and pick somebody who's not going to be a terror.
Look at the president's mind. Oil. Cargo ships aren't leaving the Strait of Hormuz, and oil just hit $90 a barrel. That's an issue. But the Trump administration's confident that the oil is going to flow.
The bottom line is our expectation is, given the extreme success of our military, that the things that oil markets are concerned about will be less and less relevant relatively soon. It's something that we're following very closely, and we have a high regard for the military that is putting together a plan to make sure that we can get ships through.
The administration has about 3 weeks before the Arabs have to stop production. Eventually, they run out of storage. That's the window, and the president knows it, but he doesn't look worried. He's confident once the regime collapses, the Strait opens, full production resumes, oil and gas prices will plummet, and the market rallies. This is just in from the American defense contractors we're seeing. They met with the White House, and they've agreed to quadruple the production of munitions. They're going to fast track it. Iran's in big trouble. Another domino could fall even closer to home. 47 sending Rubio to Havana.
Trump is doing it all. Not only is he fighting in the Middle East, but here in the Western Hemisphere, Cuba, he got to take care of that problem. This man is everywhere. He knows he has a limited time to get things done. Let's go before the midterm elections. Amazing. Finally, somebody putting action into play and getting it done.
The president says this: I'm doing it all. We'll fix it. You think Biden could do all of this? I don't think so. The president's on a roll. He's setting the foundation for peaceful coexistence among all nations. And he's even showing the Europeans how to save their countries and cultures. Thank God the United States has not sustained a battlefield casualty since Sunday. So the whole work week, no Americans killed in action. We hope Operation Epic Fury continues to be safe for our soldiers, successful, and ahead of schedule. Jim Hansen's a former U.S. Army Special Forces and the Middle East Forum's chief strategist. Jim, the fact that pretty soon we're going to have 3 carriers in theater, what kind of firepower does that bring to the table?
How much firepower is there, Jesse? I can't do the math on that. I don't even want to be the guys who have to. It makes the point that no matter where the Ayatollahs and the IRGC and their terrorists and their secret police are, they're going to feel the pain. You know, there's persistent surveillance drones above them. There's the jamming aircraft you mentioned. And even more so, the people are turning on them and now becoming informants. You know, whereas before they were the Stasi, Gestapo, secret police, you know, informing on everybody. Now that's going the other direction. So whenever someone sees their, you know, regime members, they can tell Mossad or CIA or somebody else, and bad things happen to them. It's a much better time to be us than them.
All right, so you're saying assets in the Capitol are ratting out the people that used to run the regime to Mossad and CIA?
Of course they are. At this point, I'm sure some of the regime leaders are turning. You know, there's no future for anybody there. And the ones who are left have to decide, do you want to be the last dead ender to die in a pile of smoldering rubble like they made out of Khamenei's tunnel complex? Or do you want to be the guy who gets to get out while the getting's good? You know, there's no good finish for them in this one. And I think it's time for them to realize that and give the president the unconditional surrender he's demanded.
I mean, we're pretty fast approaching the point where there's not going to be much offensive capability left. Yesterday, they fired only 8 missiles. 8, Jim, 8. That's not going to cut it. How long do you think they can hold on for?
Well, once they get rid of the actual conventional threats, they still have a lot of asymmetric ways they can cause major trouble. You know, the Straits of Hormuz could be shut down by sinking some tankers or something like that, even their own. You know, there's terrorist opportunities to do things. There are a lot of ways they can still fight and still cause trouble. So we wouldn't want to minimize that and pretend that's not a threat. But there's a big difference between that and actual state power, which they are losing rapidly and which should give the Iranian people a lot of hope for the future.
Yeah, I mean, you get probably to a certain point where they're not thinking about beyond their borders. They're trying to consolidate whatever power they have left inside because it's about to get pretty hairy. The president says unconditional surrender. I think we'll know when we hear them cry uncle. What do you think that's going to look like?
It's possible they make a deal with one of the regime leaders who says, look, we want to try and survive and we'll do what we need to do. But that includes destroying all their nuke stuff, destroying their ballistic missile capabilities, and then stopping funding proxy terrorism in the region. That's a big stretch. It could come down to President Trump just deciding, as he said, I'm going to pick someone from among the Iranian opposition and decide they are now the leader of this country since I've crushed the actual Islamic Republic and their, menace. So,
they might even try to fake it and say yes to anything and everything that Trump wants for now, because the man is only going to be president for 3 more years. So I don't know if they have the will or strength to do that.
So I don't know which way it'll go, but it's going to go one of those two ways. The clock is ticking.
Yeah, it's like The Apprentice. He just chooses who's going to run things from the boardroom. All right, we've seen this play out before. Jim, good to see you. Have a good weekend. Clifford May is the founder and president of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Cliff, they've called this strategy decapitate and delegate. Do you think this time it can be effective here in the Gulf?
Oh, I think it absolutely can be effective, and it's really something rather new, unless you consider the Venezuela example, right? Mm-hmm. Take Maduro, get him out. That's the decapitation. Then you go to Delcy Rodriguez as number 2, and you say, I'm going to delegate to you as long as you're pliable, as long as you understand that what I asked you for, you have to give me because there are jail cells in Brooklyn, and you could end up in one of them.
Right. And the Russians, we're hearing, is sharing intel with Tehran. I mean, they could have used some intel before Saturday. What could the Russians possibly be giving them that would be useful in the battlefield when they're hunkered down below ground and have no command and control?
Well, look, the fact that Putin wants to help our enemies in a time of conflict is pretty awful because President Trump has tried very hard not to humiliate Putin, tried very hard to get a peace that he could live with. This is not showing gratitude in any way. He can send them to the best he can all kinds of information about American deployments, about where our troops are. We don't have troops, but whatever intel that they may have. But you're right, it's not easy for them to use it because you're down several levels within the elite, and they don't have great communications. They're shooting off what rockets and drones they have. They're shooting a lot of them at their neighbors. Some of them aren't long range enough to hit, say, Israel. It's a bad thing, but the president's right not to be concerned about it, although he should take Putin behind the woodshed privately after this.
I'm sure he will. The drone warfare capabilities now looks like they got a little bit better after Zelensky maybe giving us some of these Hornets. How effective can they be? They're pretty low cost.
Yes, they're low cost, and this is also very interesting. We have the Ukrainians at a time when they're fighting a war of independence, a war for their lives, saying, we can help. And the reason is because they are creating new drones and new technologies that are useful for the U.S., useful for our allies, and they're actually able to contribute them. Look, if you look among our allies, we want reliable allies. We want valuable allies. We want partners, not dependents. Israel is that. That's why the Pentagon has called Israel a model ally. But would you rather be in a foxhole with a Ukrainian right now or with a Spaniard? I don't think there's any question.
Yeah. How do you think the allies have been? I mean, Israel's punching above its weight as usual. The British were a little squirrely with the bases at first. The Spanish, I mean, I don't even know what to say.
Our allies have not been good at all. They've gotten a little bit better. The British have been very bad. Starmer worries about the immigrants that have come to his country who are supportive of the regime in Iran because it's an Islamist and jihadist regime. He's afraid of them. That's pretty bad. He had denied use of Diego Garcia, which is a U.S.-UK joint base in the Indian Ocean. Very useful. He wants to give it away to Mauritius, which is close with China. That's a very bad thing. Our allies, most of our allies in Europe have not been good, and some of them can't be. Look, Poland, Lithuania, Estonia, Finns, they've got their hands full with worrying about Russia, worrying about Ukraine. But the British, the French, the Spanish, they don't get high marks for this.
Yeah, well, another reason why we need full control over Greenland. Can't trust them. Got to have it for ourselves. Cliff May.
No more using sympathy votes or trying to make people feel bad for the destruction that Trump is causing. He already gave him an ultimatum. Give up unconditionally, or else we're going to continue to keep coming. The math is simple, and we needed a grown man like Trump to step in there and say those things and do those actions. So we're in a good spot.
Got to go. Great to see you. Thank you so much. Coming up, the Democrats and Iran. Fox News alert, President Trump hosting a roundtable on the future of college sports today, but the conversation quickly turned to Iran. Peter Doocy is our senior White House correspondent and co-host of the Sunday Briefing.
How can Trump talk about anything else with everything going on in Iran? We lost 6 people. Hopefully we don't lose anymore. We have the best of the best. We need to show it and show the world that we got the best of the best.
Peter.
Yes, and Jesse, it seemed like everybody was kind of footballed out after about 2 hours of that meeting. So I did try to ask the president about this report that the Russians are helping the Iranians target and attack Americans. The president said he thought that was an easier problem to solve than the college sports problem before he called the premise of the question stupid because he wanted to stay on topic. But it has been a big day here at the White House. The president and the defense secretary huddled privately with 5 of the main defense contractors. They want to make sure that even though right now they say U.S. munitions supplies are holding up well, despite all the bombs and missiles that they need for Operation Epic Fury, that they still have backups just in case anything else blows up somewhere around the world. They can keep the homeland safe. Right after that meeting, Lockheed Martin came out to say they agreed today to quadruple their critical munitions production. And so that is exactly what White House officials wanted to hear. We expect to hear more of that from some of the other defense contractors who were here. There's an NBC report that is crossing tonight that President Trump is considering at some point down the line a small group of U.S. troops to go into Iran. So that would count as boots on the ground, but not some kind of a huge invasion. But no decision has been made about that. And we do know that tomorrow he is going to attend the dignified transfer of the remains of the Americans who've been killed so far in Operation Epic Fury, which is a weekend now. We expect it to go another 3 weeks or so, even though they say they are ahead of schedule. And the leaders in Iran are already down to the 3rd string. The 1st string wiped out, 2nd string wiped out. They're already working on the 3rd string.
50 and 50 seconds. So that's 2 presidents that have called you stupid. It must mean you're doing a really good job.
Yeah, and they were both in the East Room, so I think I should just stop going to the East Room.
You should go wherever you need to go, Doocy. You're the best. Thank you so much. Stay safe. Terrorists are mourning the Ayatollah, but Democrats are mourning something else.
I think this is a gigantic blow against America's soft power.
Soft power. That's all we had. Before Trump came into office, it was all about soft power. And you know, all these intellectuals could wrap your mind around any stupid idea about letting everybody else run the world. Everybody else putting fear in America. But finally, Trump saying, hold up. Let's put into action our military.
I mean, the last time we took a hit like this was probably the Iraq War in 2003.
What? Obama tried soft power. Love letters, bribes, treaties. Soft power made Iran more dangerous. That's why Trump did what he did. If he'd waited any longer, we'd be dealing with 10 times as many missiles and drones. But Democrats say disarming terrorists is mean.
I know that bombs do not build peace or create stability. Military strikes will not make us safer. I urge my colleagues to vote yes to stop U.S. involvement in another illegal forever war.
The war is not illegal and it's not forever. It's Friday. The Democrats plan to disarm Iran? Forever talks.
The way in which we're talking about war here is not right. This is not how wars are meant to be fought. I'll remind you all, they were talking to each other. Iran and the United States were talking to each other. And then the United States attacked.
Well, you know how wars are meant to be fought? They're meant to be fought to win. And we haven't done that in a long time.
Yep.
We talked for decades, and that's what the mullahs wanted. One day in the middle of the talks, they'd say, surprise, we got a nuke.
You know, all the training that we give our soldiers and our military personnel, and they never get the whole career put their actions into play. Finally.
Just like what happened with Little Rocket Man. The new Democrat excuse is this: Trump should have waited until the night before the Ayatollah had a nuke.
He impulsively went in on Venezuela. He impulsively went in on Iran. There was no exit and no end game for either of these situations. It led to increased global instability everywhere he goes.
Trump's been dialed in on Iran for 2 decades. He took a month to assemble an armada in the Gulf, 3 months to pre-position assets for Venezuela, and he didn't start a single war in his first term. The fact that we're taking action in his second probably means it's justified. The left doesn't have the stomach for taking down terrorists. They're more interested in taking down the man who does.
Do you think this rises to the level of impeachment?
Well, he's done so much else that I think rises to the level of impeachment. We can list that in the bill of goods. I am one of the people who do think if we win the House, we should impeach him because there has to be accountability.
Former Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, joins us now. So he just took out the Ayatollah, destroyed the nuke program, and they want to impeach him. You think that's good politics?
The Ayatollah has greater support in the Democratic Party than he does in Iran. I mean, this is unbelievable. You know what? President Trump did sit down and try to talk to Iran. He did send a letter to the Ayatollah and said, let's negotiate. You know what? Iran just wanted to keep talking until they got a nuclear weapon. President Trump stood up and supported. Iran had killed many Americans in the Iraq war. They have funded proxies around that continue to shoot at us. This is reshaping the world. It is rebalancing, not only making America safe, making the world safe. There's one other thing that aspects here too. Venezuela and Iran were supplying the oil that China needs, 11 million barrels a day. It reshapes who has the strength and where the world is going to go for the future. This is pretty much like what Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, and the Pope did in the 80s. This is going to bring greater freedom for our future generations, exactly what President Trump is doing now.
So what you just said, and what I've been saying for a week, and what the intelligence people are briefing the Democrats on, is this is a strategy for oil, for China, for Russia, for American security. Why doesn't AOC get that? Is she dense?
She must be. Why doesn't she study history? The last time we had an axis of evil, which we have now, the crinks, China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, bound together to fight the Western Hemisphere and fight America. And you know what? In 1930s, that's what created World War II. President Trump is making sure we don't have another world war, making sure that America is strong, that we have critical minerals, making sure that he breaks up the crinks as we go forward and weaken China. You know what else President Trump's going to do? He's going to go to China probably at the end of the month in a place that shows greater strength. And America is not only back, but freedom is back. And America is standing up. Look, what we were able to do with our military in Venezuela woke up everybody. In less than 5 minutes, picking up that leader, he wasn't sleeping at his house. He was sleeping at a military base and no casualties. And what we found is these presidents before that allow Iran to continue to grow, to fund their proxies, to kill other people, to try to use that oil, which they're not supposed to sell at a discount to China, and Venezuela's doing that, it reset the world power. And America is in a stronger position and the world is safe.
Well, maybe that's why they don't want this, because America is in a stronger position. And maybe, McCarthy, they don't want America to be in a stronger position. I think we just figured it out. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Up next, Gavin Newsom's losing it.
You know, it was nice for Trump to say, these people are crazy. These politicians, finally, somebody moved the veil out of their face and let you guys see this is in plain sight. And more people are waking up to the fact that the Democratic Party just want to see everybody else winning except for America and American power. Thankfully, Trump was God sent. He's going to put our name out there. A little bit of more respect when you talk about America.
Fox News alert: the U.S. launching the biggest bombing run of the war tonight. The Iranian capital exploding. And hours earlier, Israeli forces taking the fight to Hezbollah in Lebanon. National correspondent Nate Foy live in Tel Aviv. Nate.
Hey, Jesse, the American-Israeli bombing campaign continues in Iran. An airport in Tehran was reportedly hit tonight in the past hour. As the U.S. military says, in the first week of this war, they have hit 3,000 positions in Iran, many of them ballistic missile sites. But Iran still has missiles, and they use them firing at Tel Aviv tonight. Take a look at this video. They fired 2 ballistic missiles. One of them was intercepted. The other one landed in an open area. There are no reports of injuries. Also tonight, Iran fired 3 drones at an oil facility in southern Iraq. 1 drone got through and caused damage. Meanwhile, Israel is hammering Iran and Lebanon. They've hit 500 Hezbollah military sites so far. As Israel also destroyed an underground bunker used by Iran's now former supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The U.S. is using its entire bomber fleet to target Iran's ballistic missile launchers and weapons depots. The U.S. has also now sunk 43 Iranian ships, including this one, a drone carrier operating as a mothership in the Gulf. This is where so many Iranian attacks originate from. Now, tonight, U.S. officials believe that Russia is giving Iran intelligence about American positions on the battlefield. We can also report that Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke on the phone with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian, who's one of the 3 people on that interim leadership council, to express his condolences for the death of Iran's now former.
How do we get all this information? Shout out to the CIA or whoever it is leaking.
Supreme leader. Jesse?
Thank you, Nate. Be safe. Jesse Jackson's funeral was today. Rest in peace. Obama, Clinton, Biden, Kamala, all of them were there. And they turned the funeral into TDS Tuesday. Kamala got up there and said she was smarter than everybody.
Let me just say, I predicted a lot about what's happening right now. I'm not into saying I told you so, but we did see it coming.
Imagine if Kamala was president. What would she tell Iran? Don't. Democrats keep saying the country needs to unite, but they're trashing Republicans at a funeral.
Each day we're told by those in high office to fear each other and to turn on each other, and that some Americans count more than others, and that some don't even count at all. Everywhere we see greed and bigotry being celebrated, and bullying and mockery masquerading as strength.
I thought we had a little bit of hope with Obama. So sad that the man didn't come through with anything.
The Democrats were out in full force taking shots at Trump, but where was Gav? Well, he was getting anointed. Look at that. Here Barry is pointing at Newsom right there in the front row. Did the Messiah give him the nod for 28? Maybe. He's supposed to be soft launching his 28 campaign. Gav says he's kind of sort of running.
I'm going to push back, and I'm going to push, and I'm going to hit this bully back in the mouth. I don't like what's going on in this country. I don't, period, full stop. And so I'm going to call it out. If I feel that way, you sure as hell better know that I will run for president as it relates to the future of this country.
So is he running or not? I don't know. Nobody knows.
What is your defined political project? Like what throughout your career and like right now? Like what is the thing you want to accomplish like politically?
I don't have
in your life.
I don't have like a brand. I don't have a tag, Make America Great, or the Great Society, or something like Medicare for all the billionaires. But but for me, no. It's just standing up for ideals, striking out against injustice. It defines my why in every way, shape, form. Stand up for ideals, strike out against injustice. I'm a Sarge Schreiber Democrat. I'm into that whole 60s, the vernacular of the 60s, solving for ignorance and poverty and disease, and the spirit of the 60s, and the spirit of King, and and how the nonviolent movement and Gandhi and Havel and Mandela, that moral authority, that whole space. That's the zeitgeist. Yeah, and that's me. That's my dad. That's my mom. That's the book, and that's my why. And so standing up for ideals is what gave Merge. It was about work I'm doing right now to sort of push back. We can lose this country, and just feeling like I have to be held to account and strike out against the injustices of the day.
That's sloppier than the 107-day campaign.
So if you had to define it, like, vote
I need
for
your help
me
to define
and you get
Well, you tell
X.
me. You're better at this.
I don't know. I don't know who you. What
I
your
just gave
shit
you
is.
my why, but how do you
I'm
translate
saying-
that into human?
What? So if you say like make an appeal to a voter, right? Say if you vote for me, you get X. Like what in a kind of concise, tangible sense? Talking to a regular guy.
Yeah, no.
What
And
is that?
I've struggled with being able to communicate. I told you what my why is and why I'm here, and
Mental
I
gymnastics.
mean that, and that's ingrained in every aspect of my life.
Kneepads has no plans. None. But he's still talking about Trump's.
I'm also mindful that you have a president who still is inarticulate and incapable of giving us the rationale of why. Why now? What's the end game? And then the zig and zag, the justifications.
Democrats sound like the kid in the back of the car. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? We just left the driveway, son. Slow down. What's your plan for Iran, Gav? 47's off reshaping the world, and you're still searching for a slogan. At least the press thinks he's pretty.
Do you have a Zoolander problem?
No, Jesus. Yes, Zoolander.
Are you just ridiculously good looking, as Vogue said?
Hardly.
No, seriously,
But
what do you do about that?
You don't do anything about it, because if you're going to do something about it, then you're people. You know what? I am who I am.
Gav, we accept you just as the way you are. Grease and all. Joe Conch is a Fox News contributor. So the guy asked him, what you believe in, what do you want to do for the American people?
Yeah.
Did you understand what he said?
That made Kamala sound articulate, Jesse. We save tapes around here, right? I'm willing to say this now. National television, big audience, prime time. Gavin Newsom will not be the nominee in 2028.
Wow.
I'll make a pretty obvious observation as to why he is a pathological narcissist, as we just saw in all of those clips. He will say or do anything to be president of the United States. And the thing is, it's not to better the country. It's because he's like Hillary Clinton. He believes he's entitled to sit behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office. And outside of trolling Trump, what's he running on? It's not his record in California.
No.
So now he's reduced to, California, let's face it, that is as bad run a state as the Mogadishu that is Minnesota at this point, right? So you can't run on that. So now he's reduced to going on D-list podcast with Katie Couric, which you would swear afterwards, Katie probably said, want to go for a walk on the beach and get to know each other better? This is what it's reduced to.
This
Now,
remember, what did he say? He was like, righteousness and Gandhi and the 60s and
zeitgeist.
What was that? What was that?
That was somebody in search of a coherent thought. Because again, he doesn't have Trump. You know what he was running on. I'm going to close the border. We're going to do better in terms of immigration, illegal immigration. We're going to deregulate. We're going to drill, baby, drill.
Yeah, and these are my policies.
Right.
Boom, no tax on tips. Boom, border wall. Tax cuts. All that stuff. He had it. He's got nothing.
He's got nothing because
He's got nothing.
He has trolling Trump. That's it. And the next
Because he can't say, I'm going to do to America what we did in California, because no one wants that.
That's not a bumper sticker that you want.
No.
And the problem with Gavin is it's much like it is with Kamala Harris. He's like the Goldschlager of presidential candidates. The more you have, the less you want of it. And now he's going on Hassan Piker's podcast next. Talk about desperation, because this guy BFF with Zohran Mamdani, said America deserved 9/11. Gavin Newsom is proving quite quickly that rock bottom does have a base.
Well, I don't even know who that guy is, but what about the funeral? Are we too mean about the funeral? They can have a I don't know, a pep rally for the Democratic Party. They can do a hate fest, a trumpet rally. Is that okay?
It should be about Jesse Jackson and his legacy. It shouldn't be a pep rally meets the DNC meets MSNBC. And that's what we saw. And can anybody speak in their normal voice instead of these ridiculous accents that we heard? But Kamala Harris, she's leading Gavin Newsom right now. Latest poll out, Jesse, from Harvard-Harris, beating Gavin Newsom by 15 points.
No way.
When you're trailing Kamala within party, that's a bad thing. And she's up 45 points among black voters. Bye-bye. Good luck.
I think we're going to be talking about Gavin's funeral then, because those are not things you need when you're trying to run for president. Thank you so much.
Zeitgeist. Thank you.
Joe Concha, Zeitgeist. He's running on the Zeitgeist. More breaking news on Iran next.
You know, it takes time to convince people how fake the Democratic Party is. You could say both are Republican and Democrat, but in this instant, in this time, the Democrats are the ones coming up bad. And thank God we got Trump in office.
The Trump administration racing to airlift U.S. citizens from the crossfire in the Middle East as the American rescue operation kicks into high gear. Lucas Tomlinson is live in Dubai with more. Lucas.
Well, good evening, Jesse. With Iranian ballistic missile strikes down 90% and drone attacks down 83%, some people might be reconsidering their travel after Emirates, the largest airline in the Middle East, said they expect to be back to a normal operating schedule in the next few days, so they can reconsider taking that 5-hour trip over land to neighboring Oman. Here's a young man from Potomac, Maryland, who did manage to make it home.
It didn't really seem like something that was actually happening. And then we landed and I saw my family and like my mom was crying and stuff like that. And then it did hit me. I was like, I just got out of like a war zone.
Well, here in Dubai, Jesse, many people are not afraid of the war across the Persian Gulf that has stretched on for 6 days now. The Dubai Mall, the largest in the world, complete with a giant fish tank and all the big brands you like, Jesse, like Rolex, Tiffany. The mall is pretty packed. Here's a flight tracker showing all the airliners avoiding the Persian Gulf. There have been 23,000 canceled flights throughout the Middle East since this war started. The Iran war jeopardizing the $12 trillion global travel industry. There's a lot of great deals out there, Jesse. Some of the hotels aren't very packed. Perhaps you could pick out a nice deal and come here to Dubai. Jesse?
I think you're doing quite fine without me, Lucas. But stop by Tiffany and get yourself something nice. Stay safe.
Ooh, can't afford it.
Christian Lease is a high school student who was rescued from Abu Dhabi. Christian and his father join us now. All right, so Christian, what happened?
So we went on a school trip, which was supposed to be to Thailand. And we do these every year. It's really fun. And we had a layover in Abu Dhabi. When we left the United States, there was no conflict or nothing. But when we landed in Abu Dhabi, there was missiles and stuff. We got alerts on our phone telling us to seek shelter. It was a little scary, to be honest. We saw some missiles intercepted while we were at the airport. And then for the next few days while we stayed at a hotel, we kept hearing missiles go off. We saw, I think, some of the defense missiles intercept the attacking missiles. But then we were able to get out thanks to a lot of people working here and the administration. Really, we were so thankful.
Amazing. What was it like seeing these missiles getting knocked down out of the sky?
Honestly, it was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty interesting to watch. Like you would see a big streak of light go up in the sky, and then a big poof of smoke, and yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Amazing. All right, so David, how do you get your son out of this war zone?
So we got on the State Department website and we filled out the step form, and then we called all the other parents and we're like, fill this out. Some of them already had. And we all then just prayed and prayed. And a few days later, we got a call from the headmaster and he said they were in the air on their way home. And
amazing.
I'm not a crier, but I wept.
I mean, the parents must have been freaking out. I mean,
All right, I'm going to pause it right there. But in terms of the damage that the Democratic Party is doing right now to Americans, I think it goes to show that it takes time to change people's mind over what's going on. They're all bought into the fake media. They believe everything the fake media says. They're the ones that's supposed to be fighting for the regular people, for the normies. But instead, they're just supporting the Democratic drift or the Democratic Party and whatever it is they're doing to control people, make them think that we need to be nice to everybody around the world. Everybody puts fear in America, but finally a president who is not afraid of anybody. As a matter of fact, he puts out warnings. They don't listen. He goes into action. That's what I think. In any case, my name is Noel. If you like the video so far, give it a thumbs up. We got to put the news out there that what Trump is doing, I hate people are turning on him saying that is bad and that he doesn't know what he's doing. But I think it's clear that he does know what he's doing. He's taking care of the bad people. He's not putting boots in the ground, so he's trying his best so nobody gets hurt. Even though Americans are trained to be all scared and saying, oh my God, you're killing people, not the intentions. And it's nice that he said at the beginning, he's like, we might lose lives. So far we lost 6, shout out to those people, but he's putting fear on them. He keep whoever takes the lead in Iran, they get murdered. So far I've killed 2 set groups of people. Let's see what they put up next. So they should be scared, not us. That's my opinion. We got to be strong. And it's nice to see Trump putting into action his words. And whenever he puts a warning out, following through and getting it done. That's my opinion. In any case, I get to enjoy America here, the United States, the strongest country on earth. I get to say that because I'm Dominican. So I got a bunch of Dominican relatives. Came here, didn't play by the rules, ended up getting deported. That's just the name of the game. You want to come here, run the streets, and break as many laws as you can find, it's going to happen. I'm over here just trying to follow the rules. Simp. And just enjoy life. Enjoy the moment. It's crazy. Ended up going through a divorce, and right now that's the only tough part. That I can't claim a win until it's over. So thank God I have lawyer money, so I could pay a lawyer to fight for me. And the guy's good. My lawyer said it, no guarantees, but I'm gonna try my best. Fair enough. We are going to just fight. Hopefully you can join me. Give this video a like. I'm trying to just create this channel, put my thoughts out there, and give shout outs to the success happening around the world and my personal success, because I will win. And that's the mindset you got to have. All right? Successful mindset will win, not falling into depression. Ever. What else I was going to say? Going back to this mindset that the Democratic Party keeps running on, like the people at the top of the Democratic Party just keeps telling us how bad Trump is and how everything they do is anti-Trump, which is not really anything working for the people like they're supposed to. And it sounds so corny, working for the people. What? It's like that's their job description. And then when they get in, they fill their pockets up and become millionaires. Ain't no way you're going to get a government job and become a multi-millionaire overnight. Like Ilhan Omar, she's worth like what, $30 million? How come nobody doing anything about that in terms of, young lady, how are you making a government salary and pulling in this much money? What's going on that we don't know? Think about that. All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to go build an AI agent to help me promote this channel, see if we could build any traction out of it. I definitely need more lawyer money because they're not cheap, they're expensive. So if I can get this channel going, I'll be straight. I like to blame everything that happens to me on my MS, and it's part of the reason why I make such bad decisions. But at some point, I gotta say, stop. It's not MS fault. It's your fault. Stand out for yourself and do your best and do better than what I've done so far. Right now, it's just me, my son, and his mother living in the house. I think I can make it work. So we want to make it work. I'm going to try to change my rules around the house. Like this morning, I was actually able to go to my car, drove to McDonald's, picked up breakfast. They have the great McGriddle. Came back home, sat down at the table, ate, had a coffee. And those small things that I love, I enjoy where I live. So I'm next to everything I love. So it doesn't get any better. Does not get any better. All right. Let me sign out. Anything else? And let me say this much. Like, I'm on a level where it's like, I don't want to die with a bank full of money. I want to die having enjoyed life and all my money. How about that? Enjoy life. So I just need a couple of more bucks to sustain my life and keep it moving. You know, as you move forward, money got to come in and money got to go out. The trick is to budget yourself. And within your budget, you could do it all. I heard somebody walking over there. Let me go check it out. What time is it? It's Saturday. We got 10 minutes to 11. What else was I going to say about the Democratic Party? I think the Democratic Party, is all about looks and PR, looking beautiful, looking nice, but that can't work anymore. I think more people got to stand up and just say it. Like, what the fuck? This ain't working. We need to move away from these people who are just working for their pockets. And that's it. They're having a good day when they're destroying you. So, let's step away from the obvious. It takes time, but we got to get it done. All right. I gotta go get another haircut. All right. With that said, see you in the next video. Peace. What are we gonna go do? Let me go make some coffee. Coffee is always good. Yeah. Get everybody upset. People get upset when you're happy. So I'm happy. I'm out.